This is Will Buchanan reporting for the Walk for Liberty. Today is August 7th, 2008, day 104. Bunkers seem to be common out here. Stay a day, but no longer. We're about to walk into the newspaper office of the Forsyth Independent Press to see if they'll cover our story. They're a weekly paper, and unfortunately they just went to press today, so we'd be well out of their area by the time our story got published. I wonder if that corner building was built after the mural was done. A couple days ago, in the Day 102 video, I told a story about how there was an eyesore of a house on the corner of the road where I grew up. I also mentioned how my dad would often complain about it, saying things like, "That house should be torn down." I also hypothesized that he would be the first in line to cheer the government on if they actually did tear the house down. I was hoping to receive a response from him, something like, "No, you got me all wrong. I would never do that. Because I want people to respect my property rights, I respect their property rights as well." But alas, I was mistaken, and instead, he left this comment. And I quote, "Hypothetical question. You build a beautiful house surrounded by beautiful surroundings, and then people build eyesores around it that devalues the value of your property. What would you advocate being done?" That's actually an excellent question, and one that many people probably have. The foundation of a civil society is respecting other people's rights and their private property. If you'd like people to respect your rights and the way you choose to live on your own property, then you should likewise respect their rights to do the same. My dad, however, seems to want to have it both ways. He wants to have his rights, but yet doesn't want to respect other people's rights if it doesn't suit him. And his preferred method is to use the force of government, which is akin to wanting to use the mafia for help. If the right people are in power, you might actually be able to get what you want and force the destruction of someone else's hard-earned property. And you might think you're a good, upstanding citizen, and that same thing could never happen to you. But if, somewhere down the line, someone else gets in control of the mob, government, then the tables could be turned on you. Let's say, for example, that you really like trains and are able to acquire an antique train car just for the price of having it shipped to your house. So you proudly set it up in your backyard. But then, the neighbors start to complain to the government that it's a big hulk of an eyesore and that they want it removed. So then the government starts fining you, citing Ordinance XYZ. And you, rightfully, refuse to pay the fine out of principle because after all, it's your property. So the fines keep building up, and once they get to more than the value of your property, the government decides to auction off your property. How would you feel at that point about mob rule? I would like to address his original question though, which was, what would you advocate being done? Unfortunately, for the homeowner in the original example, without using the force of government, there might not be much they can do outside of moving. However, smart homeowners wouldn't let themselves get into that position to begin with, as there are a couple things that can be done before the fact. The first is, if they have enough money, they could buy as much land as is necessary to have as much of an undisturbed view as they want. I realize, though, that depending on land prices and individual situations, that might not be practical for a lot of people. So the more realistic second option would be to move into a deed-restricted neighborhood, such as a neighborhood or condo association. So to follow the earlier example, you would want to move into a deed-restricted neighborhood that restricted people's rights to have their properties be eyesores. Essentially, you would be giving up your right to have your property be an eyesore in exchange for everybody else living in that neighborhood giving up that right as well. That way, everybody gets what they want. People who care about how other people's property looks can choose to live in a deed-restricted neighborhood such as that. And people who don't care about other people's property or don't want to give up those rights themselves can choose to live somewhere else. I walked not quite 21 miles. Here are my GPS coordinates. This is Will Buchanan for blog.walkforliberty.com, signing off.
Couldn't find you any fresh cow pies.